When President Donald Trump embarked on his momentous 2025 Asia tour, touching Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea, he didn't simply travel, he reasserted America's leadership on the global stage. In a world of rising competition and shifting alliances, the United States stands fast, guided by principles of strength, sovereignty, and national interest. This is not diplomacy by happenstance, it is strategic, deliberate, and American first. At the heart of this mission lies a bold rewriting of U.S. diplomacy in Asia, reshaping how we engage, who we partner with, and how we protect American interests abroad. The new strategic formula, transactional alliances, and American interests. America's alliances in Asia have long been pillars of regional stability, but today, under President Trump's leadership, those partnerships are being recalibrated with one unwavering premise: they must serve American interests. Countries that host U.S. forces or trade with the U.S. now understand that hosting American troops is not simply a courtesy, and trade relations must reflect fairness. The message has been clear: American strength demands American benefit. This is not to say our alliances sacrifice values like freedom or democracy, but rather that values without tangible results are insufficient. Under Trump, diplomacy is geared toward concrete outcomes: cost sharing, infrastructure secured, supply chains diversified, and U.S. access ensured. Where alliances deliver, America remains all in. Where they do not, recalibration happens. In short, we honor our partnerships, but expect honor in return. From multilateralism to bilateralism and strategic clarity. For decades, U.S. policy in Asia rested heavily on multilateral frameworks and broad agreements. Yet President Trump is ushering in a new era defined by clarity and bilateral engagement. At the recent 47th ASEAN Summit in Malaysia, he led the charge, not merely participating, but advancing deals in his own right. Bilateral relationships are being prioritized because America must negotiate from strength and interest. This pivot empowers the United States to tailor commitments, avoid overextension, and engage where our national security and economic prosperity are clearly at stake. In doing so, diplomacy becomes leaner, more direct, and unmistakably American. At the same time, competition with China has sharpened the stakes. President Trump's agenda includes diversifying supply chains, restricting dependency on Chinese-controlled minerals, and elevating American industry. The diplomacy of the Indo-Pacific is now also the diplomacy of strategic supply chains, critical minerals, and industrial competitiveness. Aid, soft power, and strategic withdrawal. America's global influence has always hinged on robust engagement, development, diplomacy, leadership. Under Trump, those instruments remain, but they are being wielded with intentionality. At the 2025 ASEAN Summit, the U.S. signed new agreements with Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam on trade and critical minerals. These are not merely giveaways, they are strategic investments. America invests where its long-term interests align with regional stability and supply chain resilience. In this recalibrated approach, soft power is still at work, but it is anchored to concrete strategic goals. Engagement with China, Taiwan, and the Indo-Pacific balance. One of the most consequential frontiers of this diplomacy rewrite is the U.S.-China axis. President Trump is set to meet President Xi Jinping on October 30th, 2025, in South Korea during the APEC 2025 summit. The agenda: trade, security, critical minerals, Taiwan, and the integrity of supply chains. America is signaling. Trade and diplomacy are inseparable from national security. For example, Washington secured pledges from Malaysia to refrain from restricting U.S. access to critical and rare earth minerals. The message is clear: America will not cede strategic industries or dependence to rivals. Taiwan remains a flashpoint, but under Trump, America asserts its support more boldly while reinforcing that U.S. commitments are tied to strength and consequence. The Indo-Pacific no longer welcomes ambiguity, it demands clarity and resolve. The U.S. under Trump is stepping up. How do our long-standing allies in Asia respond? With cautious optimism. They value the certainty of American leadership, but also sense the change. As Malaysia's foreign minister observed at the summit, global power rivalry is reshaping Asian diplomacy. and U.S. presence matters. Japan, South Korea, Thailand, Cambodia, and others recognize the advantage of a strong U.S. partner, but they are also weighing how America's recalibrated posture aligns with regional stability. President Trump's direct involvement, from brokering the Thailand-Cambodia ceasefire to negotiating trade deals, shows America in action. Risks and consequences. Bold diplomacy carries risk. If partners begin to feel they are treated merely as checkbooks, trust may fade. If America pulls back from multilateral forums without building equally strong alternatives, others, often rivals, will seize the opening. And if diplomacy turns entirely transactional, the higher purpose of peace, cooperation, and shared progress could falter. Yet, America's challenge is to balance immediate gains with lasting stability. Our alliances, presence, and influence across Asia depend on maintaining that balance between profit and principle. Looking ahead, what to expect? In the coming months, expect momentum. Bilateral deals, spanning trade, defense, and critical minerals, will likely accelerate under firm U.S. leadership. The U.S.-China dialogue is poised to deliver clearer frameworks on rare earth access, export controls, and economic safeguards. America's Indo-Pacific strategy will center on industrial might, trusted partnerships, and economic resilience. Across the region, allies will adjust to a United States that negotiates with resolve, demands fairness, and stands as the indispensable anchor of stability and strength. In rewriting U.S. diplomacy in Asia, President Trump is charting a new course for American leadership, rooted in strength, results, and national interest. We are moving beyond the era of open-ended commitments and into a time of strategic clarity and purpose. Our alliances will endure, not because they are taken for granted, but because they deliver for America and for our partners. The world is changing, but one thing remains: America leads. We stand ready, determined and unwavering in our commitment to peace, prosperity, and the preservation of the American way.